Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. In this video, we're going to speak about our relationship with the cosmos. I think it is important to understand why do we exist and what is our relationship with the sun, with the stars, with the moon, and everything, before we get into evidence right away. And because people need answers, as I said before, and this answer need to be convincing for them. It need to be to make sense. So as a Muslim, as someone who claims to have the truth and the ultimately true happiness and stuff like that, what are my beliefs regarding the cosmos, and how did our Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala define this relationship? Are we supposed to worship the sun, for example? Are we supposed to worship the stars? Are we supposed to think that the ultimate battle between good and evil, the God of good and the God of evil, is going to end on earth? Stuff like that. So let's look at what our Creator tells us and ask the science, is this true or false? Okay. So the first thing is insignificance of earth. Insignificance of earth. That earth is insignificant. Earth is nothing. What God has created is much, 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 much huger than earth. This is something Muslims has believed in 1400 years ago. Almost 1500 years, but we will say 1400 years ago. So 1400 years ago, before Hubble, before the invention of telescopes, before figuring out how far are the stars, what are the distance between the galaxies and stuff like that, Earth is being told to us as Muslims that is insignificant. It is nothing. And in Quran, the holy book for Muslims, God says, who would stop God from destroying earth and everything on it? It is nothing for him. It doesn't mean the existence of earth versus the vanishing of earth doesn't mean anything for God. However, ancient religions and the beliefs and the stuff like that considered earth as the center of the cosmos. Everything circulated around earth. Everything is about earth, you know what I mean? So this is what earth is. Also, there is much, much more than earth out there. Prophet Muhammad has told us that the least fortunate guy, the least fortunate man who goes to the heavenly garden, he will have as much wealth as 40 times the wealth of the earth. It is discussion between God and the least fortunate, and God will give him and give him and give him. So this, if you calculate what God gives him, and this is the least one. So imagine how many million people will go to that heavenly garden, and the least one will get 40 times the wealth of earth. You know what I mean? And imagine there is people will take much, 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 much more than this person. You know what I mean? So the earth's insignificance. So let's ask scientists about that. Is Earth insignificant for real? Is what God told us 1400 years ago real? And scientists will say yes, Earth is insignificant. Okay. Another thing is that anything that you see in the sky, the moon, the sun, the stars that are billions and billions of light years away from us, everything you see when you look in the sky is created for us. It's created for us as human beings, for our service. Accordingly, we are not supposed to worship them. People used to worship the sun, worship the moon, worship the stars. There is still people until today still do that, sadly. However, God says, no, these are just creations. Like you are not supposed to worship them. And they are not any better than you as you. And they are created for your own service. So let's ask science again. Is that true? What is the sun? Is it a goddess? Is it a god? Is it Sol Invictus? Is it Christus Helios? Christus Helios is Helios Christ. Is it Helios Christ? Is the sun really... Is the sun subject or object? Is the sun something that does or something that is being done to? And they say, hey, no, the sun is just a huge, massive ball of hydrogen and helium. And it has some cores that have some iron. So those ancients who worship the sun, they just worship some gases. I mean, they can't do anything. They just existed. You know what I mean? God is the creator, has created them. The moon is a piece of rock. It's not a god or anything like that. It is an object, not a subject. The stars are the same. Are they made for us, for our service here on Earth? For our life here on Earth? Yeah, of course, science tells us, yeah. The sun provides us with energy, provides us with warmth. It plays a very, very significant role, and the most significant role in our lives. And the moon plays another role. How about the stars? Do the stars really for our service? I mean, this verse has, in Quran, Allah says, وَالنُّجُومُ مُسَخَّرَاتٍ, which means, and the stars are dedicated for your service. So how the stars that are billions and billions of years ago, years far away from us, light years, billions and billions of light years far away from us, how are they serving us? So we discover that all the wealth in Earth, the iron, the gold, the uranium, platinum, all this stuff, they were made in the stars and sent to Earth. You know what I mean? So science say yes, everything in the cosmos is created for you. God, our Creator, says, وَالسَّمَاءُ خَلَقْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ, which means, and the sky we create it with a hand, one hand, and we are certainly expanding it, widening it. I mean, the literal meaning for the word musi'un means widening it. Like the name Yusha or Yusa, which is a Hebrew name, means he widens. And there's a difference between Joshua or Yusha and Jesus. There's two different names. So God says we are widening it. We are widening the star. So the cosmos, the sky we see, it is being expanded. It is being widened. Let's ask the scientists, is this true? And they say, yeah, it is true. We've seen it. So 1400 years ago, there's a book brought to us by a man who's illiterate, and tells us all these facts about the cosmos, and they're true. And this man is illiterate, and he says, this was a revelation from your creator. And it is always true, as you go. So scientists say, yeah. And in the next video, we are going to explain how it works and how the scientists measure it, and so on. What else? God says it will not expand until forever, but it will shrink. So there is a cosmetic expansion. This is a scientific name for it. And there is cosmetic shrinkage. God says in Quran, in Arabic, يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب, which means the day in which we fold the sky the same way a binder can fold the open books. All these open books in a binder, collects them together so they will be folded, so it will be shrinked. كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيده. Next he says, as we started the first creation, we return it back. So the creation was shrinked, expanded, and it will shrink again. Is this true? Yeah, it is true. Scientists say, yeah, it is true. Because for scientists, what goes up goes down. You know what I mean? Everything goes up, goes down. You throw a ball or a stone up, it goes down. And one of the greatest scientists I know was Hawkins. You all know Hawkins, the theory of everything. So one of the greatest things I benefited from Hawkins was his book, Brief History in Time. He tells us that the cosmos is expanding, and after expanding there will be shrinkage, because what goes up goes down. And he gave a very nice example of as if you throw an arrow in the air, it will go up, and it will go down. And this is a very, very beautiful book. I mean, I enjoyed it because as I read about it, it makes me understand the verses written in Quran, and so I enjoyed reading it a lot. You know what I mean? However, there's a difference because the creator is more knowledgeable than us. Here's the difference. The difference is that the shrinkage for scientists now is going to happen to take the same time or almost the same time as the expansion happening. So, and they use the Big Bang theory to explain the expansion and the shrinkage. So they said it was all this mass of the cosmos was very, very tight under huge pressure, and all of a sudden there's a bang happened, and the cosmos is expanding before this bang. But like any explosion or like any bang, it loses its energy as it expands, as it goes further. Okay? So it loses energy, and at the end, the cosmos gravity will make it shrink again, and it will take almost the same time. This is what the scientists say. However, God tells us that it will happen all of a sudden. It will happen that day, which is the judgment days, which is the end day, which is the end of everything in the universe day. It will happen in a snap of a finger. It will happen all the time. So which is true. Now we have the creator, or the book from the creator says it will happen all the sudden. Okay. Scientists say no, it will take its time. Okay. So let's see who does Quran make more sense. Does Word of God, which I believe in it, make sense? So let's see what will happen at the end, at the final day. God says, "Iza shamsu kuwirat." Literally, this means if the sun is being bold. So what is the meaning of the sun being bold? So the narrators of Quran 1400 years ago, the average Arabian said it would be like this. It would be like a turban, and you circulate the piece of cloth around it. Bold means that the sunlight will circulate around the sun. I swear to God, this is 1400 years ago. I swear to God. This is how they understood it. They say the sunlight, it will circulate around the sun. That it will not be capable to escape out of it. The same way someone puts a turban around his head, so they circulate the piece of cloth around it, and they make a ball out of it. This is how they understood it 1400 years ago. They know that the light will circulate around the sun, and it will be trapped, that we will not be able to see it. And this is a concept. Scientists call it black holes, like this. I'm sorry. Let's remove this picture, like this. This is a black hole. As you see, my friend, the black hole was a theoretical concept, but people could prove it. Then finally, last year, they could take a picture of it. And we'll speak about all this as we go. So as you see, my friend, the light is circulating around the black hole. The same way ancient Arabs 1400 years ago said that the light of the sun will circulate around it and will be trapped, that it doesn't reach us. The concept of light circulate around a mass and heavy mass, this wasn't known until Einstein, Albert Einstein, or as you call it in English, Einstein. And so they know it 1300 years before. From where? From the book. So if we ask scientists, hey scientists, would the sun become a black hole? They say no, it will not become a black hole because its mass is not as big as other stars that can be a black hole. If you calculate the mass of the sun and you start doing the really heavy calculations they do, they say no, it will not be a black hole. So even though that Quran explains the concept of a black hole very clearly, the sun will not become a black hole. And comes again Mr. Hawkins and says, yeah, the sun will not become a black hole because it doesn't have enough mass to be a black hole. However, under strong pressure, the sun will become a black hole. So if there is huge pressure on the sun, it will become a black hole. And this will bring me to the cosmetic pressure theory, which I will tell you about it. I mean, it is something I figured out like maybe 20 years ago. I didn't publish it or anything. I'm not a scientist. I'm not astronomist, but I can tell it, and you guys can work from there. I mean, this is just a theory. So it takes me a long time. I intend to make these videos very short, like 5 or 10 minutes, but it takes me a longer time. So I will stop here and let's discuss more in the next video, and make this part 1, and in the next video I will talk about part 2. Thank you very much, guys, and God bless you.